Welcome to Week 10 of the Mountain Valley News Pigskin Preview. I'm Monk Blevins.
And I'm Logan Wright.
And we're back with you this week to talk a little high school football. Logan, can you believe we're in the final week of high school football as far as just regular season?
Well, it's true. A lot of teams are going to be wrapping it up pretty soon. We know not everyone can make it to the playoffs. And, every week the teams are just going to divide by half every time until ultimately somebody gets to state. But really, I think this is where all the good competition begins because now you have a whole lot more riding on these wins.
Oh, absolutely. There's some big games this week, and like you said, for some teams, they'll be wrapping up the season and bringing out the basketball, getting ready for basketball season. And, we've got, and I hadn't counted, I think there's probably 6 teams maybe in our area that will be in the playoffs. Right. So, big week this week. And, one of the things, this is a non-region week for all those teams too. And, the one thing you have to be careful about is not getting the injuries this week.
Yes.
And it's kind of a fine line of winning and staying healthy. Mm-hmm. So
a lot of times this late in the season, it's better to stay healthy than, maybe get somebody hurt and pick up that win. Because a lot of these teams, they figured out who their go-to guys are. They know if 3rd down and 8, who we're going to throw to get that crucial first down. And you would hate to see somebody go down this late in the season.
Oh, absolutely. We had a chance to talk to Coach Paul Benefield from the Fife Red Devils. And, of course, his thought was, you can't really look at those things, though. You've just got to play.
Yeah.
And just play the game. And injuries happen.
Yes.
And so you hope for the best, though. You don't want to. You really don't want to see injuries right here in Week 10 as you're getting ready to go out in the playoffs for teams that are making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. But, right now we'll talk about the games from last week. And, the first one I've got on the list was, New Hope traveled over to Plainview this week in a big game, with a lot riding on for New Hope and Plainview, actually. Yes. As, the winner of this game probably gets in the playoffs. And, Plainview put the shutout on them. Defense played well as they beat New Hope by a score of 20-0. Clay Cooper had a pretty good game, I think. Junior Marquez, again, played well for the Bears. So what's your thoughts as Plainview shuts out New Hope?
Well, Plainview is so happy to have Clay Cooper back. He was a very crucial part of their offense and defense earlier in the season, and I believe it was meniscus. He had a torn meniscus. Correct. Well, he's back now, and he showed out for Plainview because he got the majority of the carries. And, he gained them yards on offense. But let me tell you, that Plainview defense is something else. Only 2 teams this year have been able to score more than 1 touchdown on them in a game. That would be Sylvania and Fife. We know Fife is a great team.
Oh, absolutely.
It's really hard to contain that rushing game. But Plainview has a great set of linebackers. I don't think we talk enough about them. Jacob Wooten, Colton Farmer. I was looking at the stats earlier today. They have combined for 325 tackles on the year. Neither of these guys is small. And I got some bad news if you're in 3A. Jacob Wooten's coming back next year.
Absolutely. This defense, they continue to play well every week. I know they had one key injury, not this last week, but the week before, when Dylan Scott, he has a foot injury and probably out for the rest of this year. And so, that's a big loss for them. But they have some talent. That defense is very talented. When you start looking at the, like you said, the linebackers, man, are just great, good defensive backs, and they have played well. The offense has struggled a little bit. Bailey Dukes continues to play well. Got some good receivers, and you just hope, as they travel down to Moody, they start gelling and get ready for this playoff because, in that first round, they're going to have a tough game. And, again, we'll talk about that.
Yes. I know who's coming up for them, right. And I've been there.
The next game we'll talk about is the Sylvania Rams. And, Brindley Mountain came traveling up to Sylvania Friday night. And, Sylvania put a whipping on them. And we felt like this would be a pretty easy game for Sylvania, but I don't know that we expected it to be a 56-0 football game.
No, I think this was definitely another one of them statement wins. Sylvania's really on that mountaintop right now. We've seen them in the valley a little bit earlier in the season, and you can even go back and look at last year where they were having troubles with fumbles and penalties. Now, I'm not going to say they've gotten rid of all those problems. They're still occurring a little bit, but they're not game enders. They're not we see them last year fumbling on the goal line, throwing interceptions on the goal line. It happened a little bit this year, and I think that actually prevented them from beating North Sand Mountain this year. But they're starting to turn that page, and they're starting to become a great program. When you go back and look at that Plainview-Sylvania game, Sylvania dominates that game. Not a lot of people expected that. I know Plainview didn't expect that.
Right.
And, even look at their offensive line. Their offensive line, had a job set out for them because Plainview has probably one of the top 3 defenses in the county at least. And, that offensive line really took care of business, and Plainview couldn't even seem to stop them. So Sylvania's starting to gel, and they're gelling at the right time of the year. Late in the season like this is when you want to be playing your best football.
Absolutely, and they are doing that. And Caleb Roebuck, Dylan Dicus all had another great game. And I know Caleb Roebuck had one 80-yard touchdown run, and they just continue to get better and better each week. And like you said, they're still having those turnovers, still having those penalties, but they're not coming at those critical times in the game like they were in the beginning. So this Sylvania team, is playing well right now, and looks like, and actually I think we did find out for sure today, they actually are the region champs. With the way things fell, and and it's hard to believe. We talked about North Sand Mountain and how they had kind of dominated this region, and all of a sudden, things kind of fall apart for them right here at the end, and so Sylvania wraps up the region championship. And I meant to look to see, but I don't know how long it's been since they've had a region championship.
It's been
a while.
2005 was the last year.
Yeah.
And, you talk about you feel bad for North Sand Mountain because North Sand Mountain leads this region all the way into Week 9.
Absolutely.
But who I really feel bad for is New Hope, who is second in the region all the way until Week 9. And now New Hope doesn't even make the playoffs.
Yeah. It's crazy how this thing ended up. We talked a lot this year about this 3A Region 7 and how it's just, from week to week, it was just, in Pisgah, actually, who did not make it into playoffs probably was one of the better football teams in that region at the end of the season.
Yes. I've been saying since week 1 that Pisgah had the best quarterback in Audie Smothers, and, man, he is great. And I think they finally started letting him throw the ball a little bit toward the end of the season, and I bet they're regretting that decision, that they didn't make that decision earlier because, I don't want to say it was single-handedly, but he was a huge part in both the win over North Sand Mountain and the win over New Hope.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. So, again, though, congratulations to the Sylvania Rams as being the region champs and, get to have that home field advantage, and that's huge.
Yes.
That's huge when you can play at home in your first round.
And they're not playing Colbert County or Lauderdale County.
Absolutely.
That helps
that's
a little
bit
too.
Next game we'll talk about, the Collinsville Panthers. They had section and in a big region game and needed the win to wrap up the spot for the playoffs, and they defeated section 32-0 and locked up that actually third spot in their region. And so, but Mason McKinney had a great night for Collinsville. That's a name we haven't heard a whole lot. He rushed for 126 yards. And Caleb Jones, who we've talked a lot about this year, he had 65 yards. So it was a good night for Collinsville, and they're able to lock in that spot in the playoffs. So what's your thoughts on this Collinsville team?
Well, I kind of feel like Collinsville has been the most back and forth team throughout the year. Look at how they play at the start of a game, at the end of the game, and you're looking at basically two different teams. You can go back and look. They're playing Ider. Early in the season, it's tied at halftime. They come back out after halftime, shut Ider out, and take care of business. This team goes and really gets embarrassed by Sandrock.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of people considered Collinsville to be the favorite in that game. I know I did, and Sandrock just went and really showed them up. So there's that one team on side A, but then you can go and talk about Collinsville playing Cedar Bluff and Collinsville picking up the upset win over the team that went to the state championship last year.
Yeah.
So I think Collinsville really needs to decide which team is going to play. Hopefully it's the more advanced team because, we talk about it all the time. They are riddled with athletes. They have a great quarterback in Grant Jones, Dallas Reed out there at wide receiver, Tyler Blakely at linebacker, plays some running back too. All those kids can go and play anywhere in the county. They should have probably won more games this season, but now you can't think about that anymore. Now it's time to get your head right and you think about playoffs. It's playoff time. Do or die, you lose, you're out. So Collinsville needs to get that better team out on the field when it comes playoff time.
Oh, absolutely. I do want to mention for section, they have struggled all year, But the name that we have talked a lot about this year is Dylan Cooper. He actually rushed for 110 yards in that football game. So not a bad night for Dylan. And, I know a bright spot in sections, team this year has played well all year for section, even though they have struggled all year long. So, again, this Collinsville team, I agree with you. They're like a roller coaster.
Yes.
I mean, they're just up and down, and from week to week, you're not sure. But I know Ernie will be working them hard, getting them ready for this playoff and they'll have to travel in that first round. So, next we want to talk about the Ider Hornets. They traveled down to Westbrook, and man, I tell you, what a big win for Coach Brent Tinker and the Ider Hornets as they come back. They're down late in that football game, and they come back and win that game 34-26. And Jacob Higdon, and we talked a little about him, a young guy. He transferred in from Valley Head as I think a 9th grader. He's a 10th grader this year at running back, and he finally got the yards that we were expecting out of an Ider Hornet team. He rushed for 204 yards in that game.
See, that's not surprising to me when you talk about Ider football. This team has had a little bit more has struggled a little bit more running the football this year. So, they've kind of had to get out of that Ider football scheme. They've had to throw the ball a little more. But let's not overlook this victory. This is a very good Westbrook Christian team.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't believe they made the playoffs, but I think they were right on the cuff. I think Collinsville just barely slid in front of them. This is a good football team, and a lot of people are going to say, oh, what does it matter? Ider doesn't make the playoffs anyway. Well, what this does is this builds momentum going into next year. You have several kids like the running back you just mentioned or several juniors there that are getting playing time now. All that is going to do, that's experience for next year. That's another win. They're going to get used to winning. Once you start winning, you never want to stop winning. You can look at teams like Plainview and Fife, and I know Plainview didn't win the region this year, but they're always up there. They're always winning games. I believe they've made the playoffs the last 27 of 28 years.
That's correct.
I don't want to say winning is a sickness, but once you get it, you're stuck with it. That's all you want. Absolutely. And I think that the more wins this Ider team gets, the better they're going to continue to be next year.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, and again, congratulations to the Ider Hornets. A big win. I mean, it's just a big win for that program going forward, and a big win for your seniors, of course. As they're wrapping up the season, and you want to see them go out on a winning note. They have a tough game this week, and as they'll be facing off with Sylvania, and we'll talk about that a little later in the show, but. Just a big win, and just to get that running game going, to see a running back, over that 200-yard mark, that kind of the thing that we're used to seeing with this Ider team. And when we talk about Ider, we always talk about what a hard-nosed running type football team they are. Well, that's been a little different this year, and luckily, they got back into that kind of groove this week, and so congratulations on just a huge win for them. The next game we want to talk about, and it was the Mountain Valley News game of the week, was Geraldine and North Sun Mountain. North Sun Mountain sitting at the top of the region. Lock it up with this win. And, we talked about Geraldine. They have gelled in the last 2 games, have really come out of their shell, I guess you want to say, and played really good football. And, they upset North Sun Mountain this week 21-14. So what's your thoughts?
Oh, man. If you're Geraldine, you're just wishing you would have caught fire a little earlier in the season. Geraldine did make the playoffs, I believe, right?
Yes,
they slid in as the 4th seed. Yeah, it was in that 4-way tie for 3A Region 7, and I don't even want to get started on all that, but they did make the playoffs, and, honestly, nobody gave this team any credit. No one expected them to make the playoffs. I'm not going to lie, I didn't either. I didn't expect this team to win many games, but, they went and they got it done against a very good North Sun Mountain team. I know you always get a little angry. You talk about how you can never pick against North Sun Mountain because if you ever do, then they win the game. Well, I think you picked them this week, so maybe North Sun Mountain just doesn't like you much.
I think that's what it is. And the thing about this Geraldine team, they were down 14-0 in this football game.
Yes.
And they scored 21 unanswered points to win the game. So a big night. Justin Murphy, the quarterback, had another great night. I know we talked about on our scoreboard show the Willoughby kid
Austin
was injured,
Willoughby.
Austin Willoughby, and I have not heard anything from him, an update on his condition or anything. But he's a great football player. Has played well for him all year.
You hate to see injuries like that. We wish him the best. We hope he's back out there. If not next week, then in playoffs, because really he was one of their main go-to guys. He toted the rock for them a lot. When we cover all the Geraldine games, his name always seems to come up because he's always producing yards and scores. And Geraldine is definitely going to need him against Lauderdale County.
Oh, yeah. Next game we'll talk about is the Fort Payne Wildcats. And, just first of all, we've talked about it all year. This Fort Payne team was sitting at 0-8, which is just very odd for a Fort Payne team. I can't even remember when a Fort Payne team was 0-8, playing a good Pell City team who had actually already defeated Albertville earlier in the year. And, most people felt like, Pell City would run away with this football game. Well, guess what? Fort Payne upsets them 23-21, and so they are our Mountain Valley News Team of the Week. So congratulations to the Fort Payne Wildcats and the way they won it.
Yes.
Hook and my brain just left me here. Just scored with what? I think there was
a minute and 30.
Yeah, a minute.
That's
30
when they got the ball back.
They got the ball. Yeah,
sure.
I think it was just 38 seconds in the game when they scored actually to take the lead to 23-21. Colton Wales had a great game for them. Had a couple of touchdowns, and just Tyler Ellis had a great football game. And as a matter of fact, Tyler Ellis is the Mountain Valley News Player of the Week. Mm-hmm. So this Fort Payne team finally got that victory they've been looking for all year.
Yes, it's hard not to smile when you talk about Fort Payne right now, because we were starting to wonder if they were ever going to pick up that first win. And I think it's really good for the program. That way they don't have a winless season. And it's good for those seniors because now they have something to hang their hat on. They didn't give up. They persevered. They stayed in this game. This is a very, very good Pell City team.
Oh, absolutely.
I know I'm looking right here at our picks from last week, and out of 10 people picked Pell City to win this game.
Right.
And, to win it on a hook and ladder, that's crazy. That's stuff you see on Friday Night Lights or a TV show or a movie or something like that. Yeah. But that will not be forgotten anytime soon. And congratulations to them for being the Mountain Valley News Team of the Week. And J. Tyler Ellis, he's hung in there. Man, he's a great quarterback. I know it doesn't show through their schedule or their record this year, but he really is. He's a great quarterback. He's pretty selfless. I've seen him lined up out there on safety when he had no idea what he was doing out there.
Yeah.
He was having to ask the sidelines for coverages and calls and stuff like that. But, he took one for the team, and that's a quarterback out there playing safety. So he's a winner in my book, regardless of what the record says.
And Coach Paul Ellis has done a great job with the Fort Payne Wildcats, and this has been a struggle, and just talking, Roger Engel, as voice of the Wildcats, usually calls in on Friday nights and talks to us, and when you lose 16 starters out of 22 in some form or fashion because of injuries or they moved or whatever the case may be, and to be able to to play as well as they played, and and you look at it and you look at their record and you say it's 0-8. But that's probably a little
harsh
because they have been in some football games.
Mm-hmm.
They played Albertville as good as anybody's played Albertville.
Not only Albertville, is it Etowah that has the quarterback that's already committed? They kept an Arkansas quarterback commit scoreless in the second half, and they played a great second half, and they almost win that football game. That team's coming in second in that region.
Oh, absolutely. Played Scottsboro a great football game. Scottsboro's ranked number 1 in the state and just demolished Etowah this last week in a huge battle. And
man,
so,
they're good. They're good.
And so, you can't take anything away from this Fort Payne. Very young football team,
yes.
With a lot of injuries. And they held tough, all season long. And, they have a chance this week to get that second win. And so we'll talk about that a little later. Next, we want to talk about the Crossville Lions. They were defeated by Alexandria by a score of 36-14. Again, though, I can't say enough about this Crossville football team, how they have improved this year under Coach Miles Holcomb. They have been in every football game, played, competitive football this year.
I'm slowly becoming a Crossville fan just because they started from the bottom, and they really did, and they are slowly crawling out of that hole. You know, they're building a great program. I think this is a great foundation year for them, you know, starting something. You know what their record is? I think they've won 3 or 4, is that correct?
Yes, they're three and I think 3-6 right now.
Yes, 3-6 for a Crossville team is not bad, especially the region they're playing in.
Gosh, yeah.
That's such a tough region to be in and have to compete in and week out. And, you know, Crossville, we'll talk about it later, but Crossville has a chance, you know, maybe to win another game.
Absolutely.
So you can't say enough about what Coach Holcomb has done for these Crossville Lions.
Yeah, and Gannon Porter, again, played well for Crossville at quarterback, and, you know, he has been steady all year long at that quarterback position, and the Cotton kid at running back has played well. And, you know, again, of course, you know, if you're the coach and you're the players and you're looking at 3-6, you're probably not all that happy about it.
Yes.
But if you look at where Crossville has come from over the last 3 years to where they're at today, man, I can't say enough good things about them.
No. So congratulations to them, definitely.
Oh, absolutely. And the last game we want to talk about is the Fife Red Devils. You know, they traveled down to Gaston with the opportunity to lock up the region championship, and I don't think we expected anything but a region championship. And you know, they pretty much manhandled Gaston as they beat Gaston by a score of 56-14. Of course, Coach Paul Benefield called in, and you know, Dylan Kilpatrick had another great game. Peyton Anderson had a great game. Seth Benefield had a great game. You know, you could just go down the list. Basically, their first, and you want to say 22, but that's not even correct. You know, their first 44 had a great game.
Yes, without a doubt. So, we always talk about not only how good the starters are for Fife, but I don't think a lot of people realize the kids that are moving in. I mean, they got the Willingham brothers from Pisgah that are starting on their offensive line. I mean, they're huge. And that's one of the reasons, you know, their rushing game is so good, because Fife always has a decent-sized offensive line. And not only that, they always have a gritty offensive line. And they're always, you know, their strength and conditioning program there is amazing. Yeah. You know, Gaston must be pretty good, though. They scored 14 points on a Fife team. And Fife, before this game, was averaging, less than 4 points, giving up less than 4 points a game. Yeah. And that's crazy. You cannot be beat if you average giving up that much points. Their defense has been playing amazing. All these offensive stars that we've been talking about, Peyton Anderson, Seth Benefield, Will Mashburn, all these kids play defense too. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of people don't realize that I think the strength of this Fife team has to be their defense.
Oh, absolutely. And, you know, we, of course, on our scoreboard show on Friday night, and while we were talking to Coach Benefield, you know, that was one of the things we talked about. We probably haven't given that defense the credit it deserves this year. You know, when you have a Dylan Kilpatrick and a Peyton Anderson and a Seth Benefield, you know, it's easy to talk about them. But this defense has played outstanding all year long, and just very impressive.
Yes.
So, but again, you know, Fife wraps up the region championship. You know, they get that first game at home. Just a big win for them, and you know, we expect them to go a long way in this run for a state championship.
Yes.
So, you know, we want to talk about a couple of college games before we get into this week's games. You know, I guess the first one, and just a couple of surprises to me. First of all, was Penn State upsets Ohio State. You know, Penn State played a great football game. You know, it's been a long time, you know, with all the sanctions and all the things that went on at Penn State, and you know, have a new coach to come in last year, and to be able to upset Ohio State, man, it was sweet.
Yes, and I'm a very big Alabama fan, so obviously I'm not an Ohio State fan. I think those two go hand in hand, and you know, you love to see Ohio State get beat. And I believe this is the first time that Penn State is ranked 25 right now in the nation. It's the first time that Penn State has been ranked since 2011. And you know, that's a great football program there. They have a lot of history there of being a great football program. But do you know what a Nittany Lion is? Can I ask that? Because you hear that all the time, and I have no idea. You see?
It looks like you know, if you look at the picture, it looks like a Black Panther to me.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm not sure. Maybe maybe that's just what they call them up there.
They're getting rid of all the Redskins and the Chiefs. I think we need to get rid of the Nittany Lion, because they need something up there we know what it is.
Yeah. But, you know, a big win for this Penn State program, and so, you know, congratulations to them. The next game I want to talk about, the Auburn Tigers. Man, what about the Auburn Tigers? You know, we knew they had a great defense.
Yes.
You know, and it would be hard to score against them. But, man, they lit it up against a decent Arkansas team. This Arkansas team is not a bad football team, and they defeat Arkansas 56-3.
Yes, and Allen at quarterback, I think he is top 3 quarterbacks in the SEC right now. But that Auburn defense, honestly, without a doubt, I think we can say that Auburn has the number 2 defensive line in the state of Alabama and the number 2 defensive line in the country. Their defense is amazing, and they're really anchored by that defensive line, and we saw that because Allen was pressured all night. And when you stop, I want to say his name's Jonathan, but I think that was his brother. If you stop Jonathan Allen from scoring and putting up a bunch of points, you have a great defense. And I'll say right now, Alabama better watch out for this team.
Oh, absolutely. If you look, I guess if we would look back 3-4 weeks ago and said that the Iron Bowl, if this thing could come down the Iron Bowl, people would probably laughed us off the air.
Yes.
But you know what? Now you look at that, this Iron Bowl is going to be huge.
Yes.
It could be for the West Championship.
You can already see the ticket prices rising.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, those ticket prices have just went like that.
Definitely.
So, that's going to be a huge game if Auburn continues to win. They have a big game this week, and again, we'll talk about that later, but this Auburn team has impressed me with the way they have played. The quarterback, and I never can remember his
Shaun White?
Yeah, Shaun White.
I only remember it because he's a snowboarder now, the same name.
He has actually played well over the last few weeks after they finally said, okay, you are our quarterback, and we're going to stick with you.
Yes.
Man, he has come on and has really played well. Running backs, they've got just a stable of running backs,
Yes.
And Johnson didn't even play.
I know. I didn't get to watch the game, and I was reading some of the stats for it, and I was like, all right, where's Carry On? Where's Carry On? I couldn't find him anywhere, so that surprised me a lot to go out and win like that without your starting running back.
Oh, absolutely. So this Auburn team is improving each week, and they're going to be a team that some teams are going to be facing over the next couple of weeks. That's scary.
Yes, and I think they're the Tennessee of the rest of the season, if you want to say that, because Tennessee, continued to surprise some people and pull some late upsets. And really, I think that's why Saban ran up the score so much, because he knows what they do, which is really a smart maneuver by him. But I think Auburn is slowly becoming that team that I guess you still call it an upset, but in your mind, it's really not, because they're expected to win a lot of these games.
Oh, absolutely. And then the last game we'll talk about was Texas A&M traveling down to Alabama. And, closer football game in the first half than most people probably thought it would be. I know Alabama was a big favorite, and we talked about this that after a big win with Tennessee, we wondered how well they could come back this week and get up for that game. And, they struggled a little bit. But, when they had to get it done, they got it done. Defensive-wise, they played great. Jonathan Allen, yes, the defensive lineman
Yes.
right there, yeah. He had just a fantastic game, and I don't know if you got to see the one play where he dived
the
over
Superman
the guy
tackle.
and sacked the quarterback. He flew for 5 yards and
Yes.
made the sack on the quarterback, and of course he picked up a fumble and ran it in for a touchdown. The one bad thing, I guess,
Eddie Jackson.
was Eddie Jackson. Lost him for the season with a broken leg, and so that's not good.
No.
He's kind of like having a quarterback on defense for you back at safety. He made sure everybody got in the right positions, and so a big loss for him. And we'll see how that hurts him going down for the next few football games. But again, Jalen Hurts continues to just play well.
Yes, he does, and it's where you see a running quarterback start to affect the game is usually in the red zone, because not only do you have the threat of him running or throwing, you have that run-pass option set where the line is going to stay within a yard of the line of scrimmage, and he's going to read. Not only is he going to read if he needs to hand that ball off, well, then he's running this way, and it's a read for him if he wants to run in the end zone or if he wants to throw it. And what that does, that makes somebody follow that running back going left. That makes you keep a spy following the quarterback. So that takes your middle linebacker basically out of the game. A lot of people do it with a nickel package now, but what you're doing is you're putting a spy on the quarterback to follow him in case he decides to run.
Yeah.
And then you're also having to play a defense in the secondary because you don't know whether he's going to run it or whether he's going to throw the ball. So you have to be very well disciplined in there. And another thing, you're putting your Mike linebacker on Jalen Hurts, who runs like a 4.4 and just
absolutely.
Crazy speed. You can go back and watch his highlights. He doesn't even look like he's trying, and he's just leaving everyone.
Yeah. And
he is really coming along for Alabama. And I think that's really going to help them if they make it to the playoffs, because Alabama's offense is kind of struggling right now. I still don't think, we have Harris, but and Scarborough, but we really don't have that Trent Richardson, that Mark Ingram, that Eddie Lacy, that big go-to running back, that's in Heisman talk. But I think Jalen Hurts is definitely making up for that. But like you said, Eddie Jackson, that's horrible. He was definitely a first-round draft pick. It's his senior year, too, so you hate to see that happen.
Oh, absolutely.
But, he's still going to get a ring, so that'll probably make him a little happier.
Yeah, they've got a couple of big games. Of course, they have a bye this week, so they get to, heal up some bruises, and I'm sure, they're beat up, been going for, 8 straight weeks now, and so, opportunity to get a little time off and get away from football and just let some bruises heal up and let their mind clear up, before they have to travel down to LSU, and then they come back and face.
And Fournette is back. I don't know if y'all saw that truck from last week, but.
And yeah, we had this discussion this morning, and one of the things with this, talking about Fournette, and I know this is kind of. This game's not even coming up, but if Fournette gets on the outside, look out, because he will run over you.
Oh, definitely. It's almost not even fair. It's like, you ever go to those Pee Wee games and you see that one kid that drove himself to the game, and it's the 11 and 12-year-olds, and the cops are checking his driver's license in the end zone.
Absolutely.
That's what he seems like. And if I'm in the secondary, I'm faking an injury or something. I'm not running in there. I'm like, cramp, get me out of here. Somebody save me.
Well, that's last week's games, and it was a great week of football and, upsets. And, I think we have to talk about 2 or 3 upsets every week. And, again, it wasn't anything different this week than any other week, it seems like. But, we got some big games coming up this week. It's kind of a big rivalry week for some schools. And, so the first game we'll talk about, we have Cleburne County, who usually is a very, very good football team, always in the playoffs, struggling a little bit this year. But they'll be traveling up to face 5 on Friday night. It'll be a great game, 4-5. To play a team like a Cleburne County. So, what's your thoughts as Cleburne County comes to 5 on Friday night?
Well, like you said, traditionally Cleburne County is a great football team. They are struggling a little bit this year, and if you're a struggling team, the one thing you don't want to have to do is go and play 5, and that's what they're going to have to do. I just see. 5, add another one to the win column. I don't think that this Cleburne County team is going to be able to compete. I know 5's a little smaller school, but, man, they are just so dominant.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, next we'll talk a little bit about Plainview travels down to Moody. Again, Plainview gets a big, big win and, locks up a spot in the playoffs. They travel down to Moody, who normally is another one of those that has a good football team. They're struggling this day. They've won 2 games, but if you take a look at their schedule, it's a little bit scary. I mean, they play the Woodlawns, and they play some tough football games. And so what's your thoughts on this Plainview game as they travel to Moody in a big football game?
When I started looking at this game, honestly, I didn't know a lot about Moody. So I went and did some research on them. I know a lot of people around here aren't going to be as well educated on Moody. So I'm probably not the only one that had to go and look up some stuff. But like you said, Moody plays Woodlawn. They're in that tough inner city Birmingham region. And we know all those schools are just loaded with talent. And like you said, I believe they only have 2 to 3 wins on the year. But their strength of schedule is ridiculous. They're playing some great teams. I know they got beat by Briarwood, I believe it is. Briarwood's a great team. I had an opportunity to play against them at JSU 7-on-7, man. And they have great size and great athletes.
Oh, absolutely.
Plainview, they're great to have Clay Cooper back. I think we really saw an impact. Their offense still didn't score in the first half against New Hope, but what Plainview has to do now is they have to work on their consistency. They're a great second-half team. They've shown they can put up points in the second half. They've got to work on that offensive scheme a little better because their defense is playing great. The defense is where you need it to be for the playoffs. I think what they need to do in this game is just fine-tune that offense a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely. And the one thing you want to, Plainview is sitting at 6-3 right now, and you don't think a lot about it, but 7-3 looks so much better than 6-4.
Agreed.
And so it's a big game for them, to finish the season at 7-3 and to make the playoffs would be a big step for Plainview this year. And so hopefully they can get that win as they travel down to Moody on Friday night. The next game, and I think this is probably one of the better football games of the week. A big rivalry, and now that Crossville has come back and is playing better football than they've played in the past 3 or 4 years. Geraldine will be traveling down to Crossville on Friday night in what I think will be just a fantastic football game. So what's your thoughts on this game?
Oh, I agree. Crossville has shown that they're competitors. They've competed in every game. Their win-loss isn't as great as you would expect it to be. But if you go back and look at those tough losses, I mean, they're losing to teams like Scottsboro. I think they played Scottsboro the best game that anyone has played Scottsboro.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's a team that may go on to win a state championship that already has 3 D1 prospects, and Crossville stuck with them. Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, is because people aren't giving Crossville the credit they deserve. They're looking at them as a traditional Crossville team and not the Crossville team this year. And when you look at this game, Crossville, there is no tomorrow for this team. They don't have the playoffs.
Right.
Them seniors, this is going to be the last football game. If they don't go play college ball, this will be the last football game they'll play together. Especially as a senior class, this will be the last game they play for Crossville. Geraldine, they don't really have that much to gain from this game. It's just a tune-up game before the playoffs. And, last we heard, Austin Willoughby was still out, and he's their go-to guy. And you just hope that Geraldine prepares for this game and doesn't overlook Crossville.
Oh, absolutely. And this Crossville team would love to get this victory. Most of these seniors have never beat Crossville in high school. So, a great opportunity for them to get a huge rivalry win. Bragging rights, they're neighbors. Yes. And to be able to, brag for a year that, hey, I beat Geraldine.
What was this game? What did it used to be called? The Battle of
Skirlam Creek.
Yes.
So, it's going to be a huge football game, and that's one of those I would love to go watch this week. I just think that's going to be a fantastic football game this week. Next, we've got Cedar Bluff. We'll be traveling to Sand Rock, and again, this is another one of those great football games. Sand Rock, and we talk about them each week, but after the Plainview game, this Sand Rock team, I'm not sure what happened, but their eyes were opened or something happened, and, man, they started playing great football. They locked up the second spot in the Class 2A Region 6 and, runner-up to 5. And so, playing a great Cedar Bluff team. Cedar Bluff actually had probably their best game on Friday night. They were playing Spring Garden, who was ranked number 1 in the state. Spring Garden, all they had to do was win that game, wrap up the region. They were up 24 to, I think, 14 maybe.
Yes.
And Cedar Bluff comes back, scores 2 touchdowns late in that football game, and winds up winning the football game. I think it was 29-26, I believe was the final score. So what's your thoughts as Sand Rock and Cedar Bluff tangle this week?
And I think this is probably the best high school game this week. Because both these teams are at a high right now. They're both continuing to improve. We know the only Sand Rock game I've been able to go to was the Sand Rock Plainview game, and really Sand Rock didn't show me that much. But after that game, they have continued to improve. The big shutout over Collinsville. A lot of people expected Collinsville to win that game. Sand Rock just demolished them.
Oh, absolutely.
And they've got Will Carver, I believe is his name. He's a running back. And this kid is good. They've learned they can throw the ball to him and get him in some open space, and he's putting up crazy numbers. Cedar Bluff, their quarterback actually moved schools, and they've been down a little bit. And we still expected them to go out and compete against Spring Garden. When we started our post-game show live, I looked at it and I was like, oh man, they're down that much. I expected this to be a little closer in the end. Cedar Bluff comes back, proves that they're a good team, proves that one man doesn't make a team, and comes back and wins that ball game.
Oh, absolutely.
So now that's a huge game coming up.
Great football team. Cedar Bluff, of course, we've talked about this several times, but, Cedar Bluff made it to the finals of the state championship in Class 1A last year and have a big offensive line, a great running back. And, of course, like you said, their quarterback transferred out to Cherokee County, I think. And but this Cedar Bluff team is playing well right now, and that'll be a huge football game.
And it's a huge rivalry as well.
A huge rivalry, and I think you're right. That's one of the better football games this week, and that'd be another one that I'd love to go watch.
Yes.
Next, we've got Section. We'll be traveling to Woodville. Section has struggled all year. Woodville has made the playoffs for the second straight year, which is just a fantastic accomplishment for them, being a young program. I think this is their third year of
Yes,
football.
I believe that's correct.
And so, this is a big game. Section would love to spoil Woodville right here this week, as even though they're in the playoffs, it'd be a big win for this Section team if they could pull the upset. So what's your thoughts on this game?
Section is still a struggling program, and really what you need as a struggling program is a defining win. And what I mean by that is you go back and look at JSU. 5 years ago, 6 years ago, no one's talking about JSU. Nobody's talking about JSU's football program. JSU upsets Ole Miss. JSU's on the map now. Then JSU goes to Auburn 2 years ago, I believe it was, and really upsets Auburn. I know they lost the game, but really it was more of a JSU victory than an Auburn victory.
Oh, absolutely.
They had the opportunity to win that game twice. They lost it with a field goal and a shanked punt. What this team needs is a career-defining victory. And once they get that, they can start laying the foundation. You can look at Crossville. Crossville started winning games, and now Crossville is looked at as a football program. That's what Section needs to do against Woodville.
Oh, absolutely. And that would be a big game for them. And, again, Dylan Cooper is a great running back for them. And if he can get the carries and get the yardage like he got this last week, they have opportunity of winning this football game. So that'll be a great game. Next, we've got Anniston. We'll be traveling up to Fort Payne. Anniston, again, is one of those teams that normally when you talk about, you talk about a playoff run or being in the playoffs. Well, they're a struggling team this year. I think I did not look at their record, but I did last week, and they had just won one game this year. So, Fort Payne has an opportunity to get that second win, and would be a huge win for Fort Payne. And a good way for those seniors to go out.
Yes, definitely. Excuse me. Fort Payne picked up that first win last week, and hopefully they're able to build off that and keep going. Anniston, like you said, traditionally they're a great program. They're really struggling this year. I know I looked on there, and I believe Pell City defeated Anniston 44-0, and that's the team that Fort Payne just got the win over. Fort Payne, it's the only win of the season, but like we keep saying, they've been in all these football games. They're 0-8, but they're definitely, they have one victory now, but they were in all those games, and I don't think it's fair just to look at their schedule of wins and losses. I think you have to go back and actually look at the games. Etowah, they played a great game against Etowah. Fort Payne has proven they can play great at times.
Yes.
To win this game, they're going to have 4 quarters of good play. It has to be consecutive.
Absolutely. That'll be a great football game, and hopefully Fort Payne gets that victory. The thing that we got this week, we've got a couple of Thursday night games, and we actually did not have those in the paper, but I do want to talk about them. We got 3 games of 3 of our area teams that'll be playing on Thursday night this week as they get ready. A lot of them are getting ready for playoff runs and getting ready for basketball or whatever it may be. But the first game we'll talk about is Collinsville and Valley Head. Collinsville, of course, has locked up a spot in the playoffs, but they'll be playing the Valley Head Tigers on Thursday night in a big rivalry game. So what is your thoughts on this football game?
I think it's going to be a good football game. We talk about Collinsville. Collinsville, to me, is just star-studded, if you can say that, with Grant Jones at quarterback, and he has so many options to throw to. And really, I think maybe other than Plainview, they had the best receiving core around with the Caleb Jones kid. He's built like a fullback, but he runs out there and plays wide receiver. He's a great athlete. Valley Head has struggled a little bit this season. I don't believe they made the playoffs. I believe it was like a win or die, and they ended up losing that game. But they have played good at times. So I look for Valley Head to surprise some people, and it really just depends on which Collinsville team comes out.
Oh, absolutely. I think you're exactly right. And, this Valley Head team would love to get another win. A couple of seniors they got this year that they'd like to, go out on a winning note for those seniors. So that's a big game, big rivalry game. So we'll see how that shakes out. The next game we'll talk about, and this should be a great football game. Pisgah will travel down to Ohatchee. Ohatchee actually had a chance to win the region last week. They lost that game, but they're number 2 in that region, getting ready for a state playoff run. I think they're setting it like 8-1 in their record. This Pisgah team, over the past 3-4 weeks, and they had a bye last week, has played some great football games. So what's your thoughts as Pisgah and Ohatchee tie up this week?
Oh man, Pisgah has caught fire. Their quarterback, Audie Smothers, has been playing great. They have a running back, Jordan Jeffries. He's not the biggest kid and he's not the fastest kid, but he seems to find the end zone, and that's all you can ask your running back is to score points, and he does that for this team. You go back and look early in the season. I believe it was week 1. Pisgah plays Locust Fork in a great game. Locust Fork's a lot bigger school. They probably have more talent. Pisgah plays a great game with them against them and almost comes away with that victory. You hate to be Ohatchee right now because, it's one of those teams you have nothing to win from this game.
Oh, absolutely. And Pisgah, they would love to get that last victory. And the last game we want to talk about, we've got the Sylvania Rams meeting up with the Ider Hornets. I think Ider travels to Sylvania, and this Ider team, on a 2-game winning streak, and we had a chance to talk to Coach Brent Tinker on Friday night, and he said they would love to make it 3 in a row and just send those seniors out, on a 3-game winning streak, and also, just building for the future. The thing, getting a 3-game winning streak that carries over into your off-season program, and also will carry over into next year because, you feel like, hey, we got a 3-game winning streak going here, and, we want to keep this up. So what's your thoughts on this game Friday? Thursday night, I'm sorry.
Oh, it would be great for Ider to pick up that 3rd win, send them seniors out with 3 in a row, but the only problem is the only thing standing in their way is a man by the name of Caleb Roebuck, who I think is the best running back in the county. I don't know, if I was voting for a Heisman from around here, I'm giving it to Roebuck. Roebuck has proven that he is their go-to guy. He basically put that offense on his back against Plainview, and really he's done that in every game. He's a great running back. He's a strong kid. He breaks tackles. He catches the ball when it's thrown to him. Not only that, he's lining up on defense and playing defense as well. He's their punt returner and their kickoff returner. So he is literally their go-to guy, and I think he's definitely one of the best athletes from around here.
Oh, absolutely. Should be a great football game, and, most people, I think, expect Sylvania to win this game, but this is another one of those football games, just like you've been talking about, Sylvania, Ider, they don't have anything to lose. They can just let it all hang out, if you want to say it, and go for the win. Yeah. And Sylvania, and even though you want to win this football game, in the back of your mind you're still thinking, okay, we need to stay healthy. We're fixing to get into playoffs, and we need to keep healthy, stay healthy if we can. So this could be a closer football game than most people think. So that'll be an interesting football game to see too. Now we're going to talk a little bit about a few college games, and those Thursday night games. We're going to pick them when we come back here in just a few minutes. We'll pick those high school games too, but as far as what was in the newspaper, we couldn't put those because of the way our paper comes out. But first game in college we want to talk about is Auburn. We'll be traveling over to Ole Miss. Ole Miss gets a pretty good whipping from LSU on Saturday night. Of course, we talked about Auburn and the big victory they had over Arkansas. So what's your thoughts on this game?
In my mind, Chad Kelly is the best quarterback in the SEC. He's proven he's a great athlete. The only problem with that is he's really all Ole Miss has. He is their go-to guy. They don't have a really established running game, so they're asking an awful lot of Chad Kelly. Auburn's defense is the 2nd best in the country. I think they proved that Friday night against Arkansas in the huge, devastating win they put on Arkansas. But, Ole Miss has been struggling lately, and their defense isn't that great. They're an all-right defense in the SEC. Right. They're nothing spectacular. And, Auburn's offense right now isn't horrible. So I look for Auburn's offense to be able to put up some points, and then I look for Chad Kelly not to be able to put up any points.
Yeah, that should be a great football game. And like I said, I think it's depending on what Chad Kelly can do in that game, and and if they can stop Auburn's offense and generate some offense from this great Auburn defense, they might have a chance of winning that game. But we'll see how that shakes out. The next game we want to talk about, Clemson. We're traveling to Florida State. Big game for Clemson, a big game for Florida State. Florida State would love to put a whipping on Clemson. Clemson defeated them last year, and Clemson's sitting, I think, at number 3 in this week's poll, and with an opportunity to get in the playoffs. But they need this win in the ACC this week. So, what's your thoughts on this game?
Well, we talk about team schedules that aren't in the SEC, and if you go and look at the ACC. In the SEC, you don't have a bye week. You may get a Vanderbilt or, Kentucky, but hey, both those teams are winning right now. So, but in the ACC, typically you'll have a tough ball game, and then you'll have about 2. You're playing a junior college, basically a high school team. But we'll talk about that later. But you go look at this game. This is one of the true tests for Clemson. I don't think this team has really been tested that much. They play Auburn early in the season, almost get beat. They play, I believe it was them that played North Carolina State.
Absolutely.
Has to go into overtime. NC State should have won that game.
Yes.
Clemson should not be sitting undefeated right now. And Florida State, man, they've continued to improve. They have Francois, is the quarterback's name, true freshman. Man, he's an athlete. He's the best thing that Florida State's had since Jameis Winston.
Oh, absolutely. And that should be a great football game. And you're right. Clemson is playing good football right now. They struggle at times. They got a great quarterback in Deshaun Watson, just probably one of the leading Heisman Trophy candidates.
I'm voting for Lamar Jackson, but that's just me.
And Florida State, has struggled at times and seemed to get behind. And, the defense doesn't play quite as good as some of the defenses that they've had in the past. But should be a great football game. Next, we've got Florida and Georgia, and they'll be tangling in Jacksonville, Florida this week. And so, Georgia needs a win. They lost to Vandy, had an open week this week. But, this Florida team is playing really good right now. So what's your thoughts on this Florida-Georgia game?
Well, this is a must-win for the head coach of Georgia because Georgia is one of them you can't go and lose football games, especially not to Vandy. Georgia losing to Vandy is unheard of. That's like losing your homecoming game. That's just something that doesn't happen. So, his job is definitely on the line right here. Florida, they're not playing great, but they're playing good enough. They're playing good enough to win ball games. And what I like about this game is the different styles. You look at the running games, Georgia, they're going to use that pistol a little bit. They're going to get under center some, and they're going to run it right at you. Florida's going to have a bunch of wide receivers that are going to get the ball. They're going to get handoffs around the end. They're going to use that speed game a little more, spread the defense out a little more. So I think this is going to be a fun game to watch just because of that.
Oh, absolutely. And I know we're getting short on time here, so I'm going to speed it up just a little bit here. That should be a great football game. And, again, Georgia needs a win. And, and of course, Florida still has opportunity to lock up the East, if they can win out. So that should be a great football game. Next game we'll talk about Tennessee travels to South Carolina. Tennessee had to open after just getting beat pretty good by an Alabama team, 2 weeks ago. And so what's your thoughts as Tennessee travels up to South Carolina this week?
South Carolina is definitely struggling, and we know Tennessee has great athletes, great wide receivers. Every game except Alabama, this Tennessee team has seemed to go above and beyond of what their offense is asked to do. And I feel like that's the same thing that's going to happen in this game.
Oh, absolutely. I think Tennessee, if their game is on like they're capable of playing, they handle this game pretty good. So next we've got Nebraska and Wisconsin. Nebraska undefeated coming into this football game, be traveling to Wisconsin. And we've talked about Wisconsin, and I always kid about this. Wisconsin reminds me of the Fife Red Devils, the way they play football. And, they've had they have a tough schedule. So what's your thoughts as Nebraska travels to Wisconsin?
I think these two teams are very similar. Not only are they both red and white, they're both blue-collar too, if you want to say that, as far as the running game. Really nothing flashy, that ground and pound. They're going to run it right at you, tell you where we're going to go, line up, and see if you can stop us. And I think this is going to be a fun game to watch if you like old school football. Okay. If you're an Oregon coach or an Oregon fan, you probably don't want to watch this game because you're not going to enjoy it. But I think this will be a great game nonetheless.
Oh, absolutely. And the last game we want to talk about just real quick is Michigan will be traveling to Michigan State. Michigan State is struggling a little bit this year, not quite the team that they have been in the past. And, of course, Michigan is playing great right now, setting at number 2 in the nation after Ohio State lost. And so what's your thoughts on this football game?
Well, I think if you're Michigan, you definitely can't sleep on Michigan State. We know Michigan is the better team right now. Michigan is playing the better football. But if you go look at this, it's called the Paul Bunyan something, this battle or whatever. But Michigan State has won 7 of the last 8. Many of those games, Michigan had the better football team. Michigan State comes away with the victory, though. So, obviously, they always prepare a little harder for this game. So, if you're Michigan, you can't sleep on Michigan State in this game.
Oh, absolutely. And that should be a big, big football game this week. And so, just some great football to watch this week. And, now we've talked about all these games. It's time for us to pick them. Yeah. So, we're just going to start down the line. And, the first game we've got, Cleveland County traveling to Fife. So, who are you picking in this game?
Oh, I see that big red machine keeps rolling. Cleveland County, doesn't even stand a chance. Don't even get off the bus.
I think you're exactly right. I'm going with Fife. I just feel like this Fife team, I don't want to say unstoppable.
Yes.
But they're unstoppable. So next we got Plainview traveling to Moody, and Plainview would love to get this victory to get that 7th win. So who are you picking in this one?
Well, I hate to pick against a local team, but the way Plainview's offense has been playing lately, they're just not consistent enough to me. They don't show that consistency, and they don't put up points in the first half, and really that shoots them in the foot. That's what hurt them against Sylvania. Their defense is amazing, but they're going to play a very good Moody team. Moody doesn't have that great of a record, but they're playing in a really hard region. I feel like Moody comes away with this one.
I agree with you. I wanted to pick Plainview in this game so bad, but just looking at Moody's record, who they've played, and haven't been blown out by anybody, and they've played some great football teams.
Yes.
And I just feel like this Moody team is probably just a little too much for this Plainview team. Next, we've got Geraldine traveling down to Crossville. Who are you picking in this one?
Well, Geraldine has caught fire lately. Their starting running back is more than likely out right now in Austin Willoughby, and we hope he gets a speedy recovery and he's back in time for the playoffs. Crossville has a great quarterback in Braxton Lassiter. I believe that's his name.
Yes.
That kid puts up so many yards for this Crossville team. And I feel like I'm going to call the upset, and I feel like Crossville is going to come away with a victory this week.
I'm going with Crossville too, and it's just a hunch. It's not anything that I can't put.
You don't have a lead on a horse anywhere?
I don't. But I just, for some reason, I think Crossville they just want to go out on a winning note.
Yes.
Playing good football right now, and I just feel like this is their year to get that win. So I'm going with Crossville. Next, we have Cedar Bluff at Sandrock. Who are you picking in this one?
Well, if we know anything about Sandrock, is you're down 14 points before you get off the bus there. Kind of seems like there's always a couple questionable calls when you play Sandrock. This is a very good Cedar Bluff team. This is a huge rivalry, but Sandrock usually wins this rivalry. You go back and look last year, Cedar Bluff went to the state championship game. Their one loss to Sandrock. Yeah. So I feel like Sandrock's going to take this one too.
Well, I'm going with Cedar Bluff. I think they're just they're playing good at this point of the season, and got a lot to play for. So I'm picking Cedar Bluff in this game. Section at Woodville. Who you got?
This is a very good Woodville team. I know they're a young program, but not only did they make the playoffs last year as well, they went deep in the playoffs, and this team wants to win. I feel like Woodville's just going to be too strong of a game for them. Yeah,
I'm going with Woodville too. I think they get that win over Section this week. Next game, Anniston at Fort Payne.
Well, to tell you the truth, this Anniston team has been struggling, and I feel like Fort Payne has already got that first win, and this is a team that's used to winning. I feel like Fort Payne gets that second victory this week.
I agree with you. I think Fort Payne gets that second victory and starts building for next year with a win this week. Next, we got Collinsville traveling or playing Valley Head, and I'm not sure. I didn't even look at the schedule to see where they're playing at. But who are you picking in this Collinsville Valley Head game?
It's so hard to pick a Collinsville game because you never know how that game is going to turn out. I feel like this Collinsville team, like I said, they're star-studded. They have a great quarterback. I feel like Collinsville is going to throw the ball, and this is going to destroy that Valley Head secondary.
I think you're right. I'm going with Collinsville. I think they win this game pretty easy this week. Next game, Pisgah traveling to Ohatchee. Who are you picking in this one?
It's not going to hurt my record any on the paper, and I'm becoming a Pisgah Eagles fan. I love to watch them play. Aldi Smothers is a friend of mine, and he honestly, I think he has to be one of the best quarterbacks if you're talking about quarterbacks in this area, and he's a leader, and he's proven that not only on offense but on defense as well. I'm going to say Pisgah picks up the win.
Yeah, I'm going with Ohatchee, and I hope Pisgah gets the win, but I'm picking Ohatchee. And we got Sylvania and Ider. Who you got in this one?
That's another tough one. Sylvania's defense has a great middle linebacker. He's number 34. His name escapes me, but he's a great linebacker. And how you stop a good wing T team is with linebackers, with powerful linebackers. You go look at Fife. Honestly, the worst half of football Fife played was against Plainview because their linebackers are so good. Yeah. That's why I feel like Sylvania's going to take this one.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Sylvania gets the win. Anyway, now let's jump into college really quick. I know we're just about out of time. Auburn travels to Ole Miss. Who are you picking in this one?
Auburn, their defensive line is going to be too much for Chad Kelly. His offensive line isn't the greatest in the country. I think Auburn, pulls the victory out.
I want to pick Auburn. I think Auburn's probably going to win, but for some reason my gut tells me to pick Ole Miss, and I'm going with Ole Miss. Okay. Clemson at Florida State.
Calling the upset, Florida State. The Chiefs get it. They're going to take down Clemson. I don't feel like Clemson has been tested enough this season. I think this is going to be a test they're going to fail.
I'm going with Clemson. I just feel like that at this point, Clemson is getting ready to make that run for to get in the playoffs and possibly play for another national championship. So I'm picking Clemson. Florida and Georgia. Who you got?
Oh, I think this is a must-win for Georgia, and I think that's why they win in this game. I think everyone's kind of been sleeping on Georgia lately, but a lot of people don't realize how many good recruits and what the talent Georgia has. I think Georgia wins this game and surprises people.
Okay. I'm going with Florida. So we're picking against each other this week.
Yes, definitely.
You know, the next game we got Tennessee at South Carolina.
South Carolina is struggling. You know, they've yet to put together a good game. This Tennessee team has proven they can win it when it comes down to the wire. I think Tennessee comes out of the victory.
Oh, yeah. I think Tennessee wins big in this football game. Next, we got Nebraska at Wisconsin.
I'm going with Wisconsin. With Wisconsin. That's so hard to say. But like we said, these two teams are so similar. I think Wisconsin's running game is a little better than Nebraska's.
I like Nebraska. I saw them play, and they have impressed me. Got a great quarterback, and so I'm picking Nebraska in this week. So.
Well, one of us is going to be broke this week in our picks.
And in our last game,
hopefully
we got
it's you.
Michigan at Michigan State. Who you got in this one?
I feel like Michigan is going to be angry about the game how it went last year. They're tired of losing to their in-state rivals.
Right.
They're ranked number 2 in the nation. I think they're ranked number 2 for a reason. I'm going with Michigan.
Yeah, I think Michigan wins this one and probably convincingly.
Yes.
So there you have our picks for this week, and I know we're about to run out of time, but, man, we appreciate so much you guys tuning in. And, you know, this is our last regular season football game, but we will be back here next week for the first round of the playoffs, and hopefully, you know, we can continue with that for a few weeks. Well, hopefully some of our teams will surprise some people and get some big wins. But, again, we appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you back next week. God bless each one of you, and we hope you have a great week.